Okay, firstly, what is HRV? HRV is heart rate variability, which is a measure of variation in time between our heartbeats in milliseconds. Collecting this data gives us insight into how well our body is balancing between the two arms of our autonomic nervous system, so between sympathetic and parasympathetic. HRV is dependent on each person's health status, including age, gender, physical fitness, strength, aerobic fitness, muscle mass, diet, lifestyle, and genetics. Even though we have some guideline ranges, what we want to aim for is the improvement in its baseline. HRV is a well understood phenomenon, allowing us to monitor objectively physiological stress. The body tries to maintain balance so that it can function optimally, and heart rhythm is influenced by a series of processes going from the brain to the heart. These processes reflect the level of stress on our body. This is a great tool to objectively monitor physiological stress. As a general rule, high HRV, so relative to your baseline, is associated with the activation of your rest and digest branch of your nervous system, so that is your parasympathetic. So general physical fitness and good recovery is also related to this. Higher HRV, average nighttime measurements have also been linked to better sleep quality and vice versa. Low HRV relative to your baseline is associated with the activation of fight or flight branch, which is obviously our sympathetic nervous system, and obviously stress. Both good and bad, depending on how well you can recover from that stress, and obviously related to illness and overtraining as well. So this is generally a rule of thumb or a guideline area on ranges that you want to be aiming for. So obviously anything below 50 is quite bad. I don't think I've seen anyone with below 50 yet, I don't think. And then obviously 50, it says compromised health. I wouldn't take that, like, compromise is a strong word. So even I was between 50 and 100, and I won't say I was compromised. I saw it as I needed to work on something because I was dialing in other areas of my health and lifestyle. So if you're in this range, you need to have a look at your lifestyle and what's going on with your health and fitness, and then maybe try and figure out what can be improved. But obviously you want to aim to be in the green area, which is 100 plus on the milliseconds, yeah? Because there are so many interfering factors also in HRV and stress response, it's best to use a device that constantly collects data. The best device for this is an Oura ring and then a Whoop band. Some obvious interfering factors are diet, training, hormetic stressors like sauna and cold exposure, nicotine, drugs, caffeine, time of the day, alcohol, digestion and water intake, and of course age. Obviously we can look at things subjectively. If you feel good, like you're usually going to have a better training session, for example, or you're going to feel better that day. And also if you feel bad or if you've drunk a lot of alcohol, clearly you're going to feel subjectively bad and you're not going to perform as well. But if you're trying to make objective changes, then you need to collect data. So how Oura measures HRV? So I use an Oura ring. I haven't had an experience with the Whoop band. I've seen some people use it and it looks okay, but from the stuff I've read on the internet, it seems that Oura is the best at collecting the data, simply because it's on the finger and the way it collects this data. So Oura calculates your nighttime HRV using RMSSD, a well-known HRV parameter that provides a reliable and accurate view of your autonomic nervous system's activity. The average HRV you see on your readiness tab is the mean of all 5-minute samples measured while you sleep. What's unique about Oura is that changes in your HRV are accounted for every 5 minutes throughout the night, comparison to other wearables that only take HRV measurement at a single point during the night. Having continual measurements throughout the night not only results in greater accuracy, but gives you a more detailed perspective into how your body is responding to the previous day's stressors and how well it is preparing for the next. And of course, your ring, you're wearing it all day as well, so it's collecting data during the daytime as well. As displayed in the readiness tab view, I haven't got this here, but you'll see it on the next slides. Oura provides you with the following heart rate variability metrics: also your average HRV, your max HRV, and your HRV trace. And obviously, for purpose of this piece of content, we're going to be focused on average and max. So having consistently low HRV indicates that your body isn't adapting to or recovering well from stress. This could mean a number of things. You're not sleeping well, you've exhausted your body, or you're getting sick, right? So ideally, you would need to address lifestyle factors to improve sleep quality, increase tolerance to stress, and improve or increase downregulation activities. Those with consistently low HRV have a higher likelihood of developing injuries, insomnia, chronic pain, cardiovascular illness, anxiety-related disorders, or depression. HRV levels that are lower than your normal range are signs of excessive strain on the body. So obviously if you're wearing a ring or a hoop, it will kick out the baseline after a couple of weeks, and then anything lower than that normal range obviously it signifies this excessive strain on the body. Lower HRV may be a result of dehydration, consumption of alcohol, a late night meal or workout, illness, acute and prolonged stress, hot bedroom at night, jet lag, inconsistent sleep patterns, and overtraining, of course. So as shown on my Instagram stories, this was my HRV data in January 2022 of this year, obviously. This was generally the trend, and my HRV did seem kind of low, especially my average score, usually maxing out at about 80 ms, and my max HRV during my sleep was maxing out at about 100 ms. What I was most concerned about was the max HRV in terms of the highest spike. It wasn't really getting above 100 consistently. So obviously the average obviously correlated to that as well. So you can see that on the screenshot on the left, right? I immediately started trying to figure out how I could improve this, but knew it would take 6 to 12 months realistically, because this is something that's not going to happen in weeks or like 1 month or something, because you're trying to improve the quality and efficiency of your heartbeat, and that takes a bit longer to obviously improve. So max HRV was also of interest because this usually spikes around the same time your body temperature drops to its lowest point during the sleep, signaling the deepest restorative processes. If this happens too late in your sleep, you will not have had enough time to complete full restoration cycles, so you will be physically and mentally under-recovered, basically. So for example, you want the lowest your drop in your temperature and your heart rate to be around the middle of your sleep. So this could be like 1 to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. For the very latest if you're sleeping towards like 8 or 9, waking up towards 8 or 9 a.m., right? If it's too late, you just don't have enough time to go through all of the cycles, right? And your max HRV actually correlates with this. So ideally, we don't want more than 1 to 2 nights subpar sleep. If you accumulate 3+ nights of sleep that is less than 6 hours in total, you will begin sliding down the slippery slope of reducing baseline performance of your body and brain. This means the body reduces performance output because it cannot recover from it. This is the most important for cognitive function, of course. Poor sleep leads to poor reaction time, poor decision making, poor concentration levels, poor ability to retain information. So very long list. I'm not going to go through all of them, right? It's like downgrading your hard drive in your computer every night you have poor sleep. Okay, so what could I do about my low HRV score? I wasn't necessarily unhealthy, so it was hard to figure out on what I could improve. So I just started to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, as you will. I was training rigorously, focused on my sleep quality. Diet was generally dialed in. I had recently removed alcohol from my diet, so I wasn't drinking any alcohol. I was doing cold exposure frequently. I was meditating and down-regulating myself with activities in the evening and some in the morning as well. My resting heart rate was generally low, sub 45 BPM, and obviously this is the same data score of my HRV on the right. So plan of action. We can't totally get rid of stress, so I started to get into the idea of pushing up both ends of my stress spectrum, so my tolerance and my down-regulation, in terms of like pushing the ends of that further apart, so I have more range, right? So that meant increasing my ability to down-regulate. So doing that, continuing and doing regular meditation, continuing cold exposure to increase adaptation to this, and using that to aiming to get my resting heart rate down as well, or using both of those activities to bring my resting heart rate down, which should improve my HRV as well. In addition to this, I wanted to add in regular sauna or heat exposure. This is interesting because increasing heat exposure would improve my heart function and cardiovascular health, but also my ability to sweat and cool myself down. Being in the sauna sends the heart rate up into zone 3 and higher, and this is basically cardio, right? So this is why it improves your heart health. When I first started consistent sauna exposure, I found it so difficult. 7 minutes was like so hard for me, and and my heart rate would shoot up to like 150, 160 BPM, and it basically felt like I was doing cardio, being in there. I had to work so hard just to stay in the sauna, and also your mind is telling you to get the fuck out, right? Compared to ice baths, which I was able to like get my heart rate consistently below 50 BPM, the sauna was very hard work, but I persevered. A byproduct of the sauna exposure, what I seen was my heart rate dropped consistently lower, and even logging a 39 BPM in June 2022 during my sleep. So in addition to that, I wanted to manage my social media exposure, so cheap dopamine. This is also a factor because it has improved my overall sleep quality and concentration levels. I now don't sleep with my phone in my bedroom. It stays at the desk, and I usually don't use it for like first 2 to 3 hours of being awake. Sometimes I do have to jump on it to do messages and check on some stuff, but I make it quick, in and out sort of thing, and I make sure I don't go on social media for 2 to 3 hours of being awake. And I've noticed a substantial difference in my concentration levels since I've been doing it, so I highly recommend you do this. So this was my HRV reading 17th of June, obviously yesterday from when I'm recording this video, 2022. As you can see, my average is 100 ms plus, but my max is through the roof, right? And this was most satisfying for me because it showed that I was like recovering really well, and also my heart health had improved a lot. This has been consistent for about a month now, so I'm now very pleased to be seeing these improved scores and signs of improved health, but mostly my skill in problem solving this data and making tangible improvements, right? So objectively, tracking health is super important, especially if you want to maintain good quality of life as you age. Tracking diet, muscle mass, fat mass, training and cardio are all good factors, but one thing that is undervalued by a lot of people is sleep tracking and heart health tracking, which can now be easily done by using devices like the Oura Ring and the Hoop Pad, right? So measuring and tracking HRV is a step to jumpstarting a healthier lifestyle, but like tracking sleep, you must take action on the data and take action consistently for months to years to reap the benefits. High HRV indicates that your body is resilient, recovering well, and able to bounce back from stress quickly. And obviously you can see the data there on the left from the readout of my Oura Ring. So I'm kicking up towards the end as my max is like 167. I think the top end is 200. So getting close to that. The following contribute to a high HRV. So restorative sleep, mindfulness practice, balanced diet, regular exercise, healthy relationships. Those with consistently higher HRV are more likely to have better focus, calmness, performance, breathing efficiency, pain tolerance, low blood pressure, deep restorative sleep, and general resilience to stressors in life, right? Please do bear in mind that what I did to improve my HRV was dependent on what I was already doing at the time. Some of you may need to get the basics right first, and others may need to dial in some other areas. So here are some ways to improve and increase HRV. So number 1, improve sleep quality, quantity and quality, and improve the conditions of your sleep. Restore your adrenal gland function. I'm not going to talk about that too much because that's a whole nother video by itself, but I obviously related to how well you manage stress and how well you down-regulate yourself. Reduce or remove alcohol intake. Improve your diet, reducing carbs, processed foods, also intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating can help. Breathing exercises, effort to manage and lower stress, meditation and spending time in nature all can help. Hot and cold therapy, so cold showers, ice baths, saunas, so that is about increasing your tolerance to stress, right? And increasing your bandwidth, so to speak. Improve aerobic fitness and a balanced exercise regime, so no overtraining, and obviously improving strength training and focus on heavy compound lifts, again no overtraining, right? And obviously one interesting one is dopamine fasting. We have become overstimulated by quick hits of dopamine from things like social media, technology and food. By deliberately avoiding these common stimulants, which we see as pleasurable activities, we can decrease the amount of dopamine in our brain. This break from stimulation allows the parasympathetic nervous system to upregulate itself and create a greater internal state of calmness or restoration. Stay hydrated. Dehydration lowers HRV. We can also work on getting into flow state. Flow state is a state of meditation of mindfulness that you enter while being absorbed in an activity.